Frankenstein, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, and Dracula. Gothic movies are back in Hollywood, and it's not a coincidence. Welcome back to Regal's Radio Hour, where I talk about whatever I want for that amount of time. We are living in very unstable, very complicated, confusing times at the minute. And when things get weird, our movies get weird. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Victorians creating work about new advancements in science, religion, changing situations in gender. I don't think it's a coincidence that that genre comes back now in today's world. It makes complete sense to me. And I feel like the Gothic genre helps us make sense of all of this. One theory I have about the two Frankenstein adaptations that have come out, the Oscar Isaac one and this new one called The Bride, I think it's meant to represent our advancements with AI, our anxiety about that. You know, we're creating an intelligence that might doom us. There's fear in that. But a lot of people have talked about how Frankenstein is a postpartum allegory, and that fascinated me. Like, I knew very, very little about Mary Shelley until the Frankenstein movie came out, and I kind of did some exploring into her life and the fact that she, trigger warning here, she did lose so many children, and that kind of culminated into the creation of Frankenstein. She was pouring a lot of her grief towards, you know, the fact that she lost her children, and also the very difficult, complex feelings that she had towards her father. It's all kind of poured in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a focus on Frankenstein at the minute because of the difficult gender dynamics we have going on. The red pilling and men being potentially resentful that they cannot create life in the same way that women can. I never really thought too hard about that before, but that thought has been introduced to me through a lot of debates on TikTok and other places online, and I really kind of have had to sit with it and go, oh my god, there is so much sense in that. It would make so much sense with some of the ways that men behave, how jealous they can be of women sometimes. If you guys are interested in me talking about the Frankenstein movie, I did this thing when I started watching the movie where I just made notes on my phone, sort of reacting to it. And here's a preview of what some of my notes look like. The rest of the time, mother was mine. What the fuck? More mummy issues? Charles Dance is the father. What is it about Victorian clothes on men that just makes me and other women kind of feral? The judge is right. It is kind of fucked up and unholy to stitch dead bodies together and make it move around. The German guy wants to bang him, I swear to God. Very relatable though. Following her into the church like Joe from You. Why is Charles Dance always at the scene of the crime? I swear to God. That's 2 movies now that I've seen him in where there's an Oedipus complex in the room. But yeah, I could absolutely do like a 45-minute long episode where I just talk about the Frankenstein movie and all the stuff I noticed. In terms of other Gothic adaptations that are coming out, there's also been a TV adaptation of Jane Eyre that's been announced, starring, oh god, what's her name? Amy Lou Wood. She's going to play Jane Eyre, which I think is very interesting casting. I think this could be very interesting to see, and I'm more than open for a new Jane Eyre TV show. I'm sure a lot of you guys would be excited about that too. I know that there are quite a few Jane Eyre fans on the channel, just like me. TV shows give us more time for depth to show the inner details and complexities of characters a lot more fully. We get more time with them, whereas a movie only has a limited amount of time. I really enjoyed the 2011 movie adaptation of Jane Eyre. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Michael Fassbender was way too hot to play Rochester. I don't care. I think it's a really great adaptation, and I love the soundtrack on that movie. The violins are so romantic. I love that soundtrack so much. So yeah, very excited to see what this Jane Eyre TV show will look like. There was also a Dracula movie that I didn't even know about until I researched how many Gothic movie titles have come out in the last few years. The plot of Dracula says, when a 15th century prince denounces God after the loss of his wife, he inherits an eternal curse. He becomes Dracula. Not only does this sound amazing, I do love the trope of eternal love and reincarnated souls and stuff like that, but this is evidence that there is a first, no pun intended, for these kind of relationships, these kind of complex, darker love stories. I think people crave that kind of passion, that kind of certainty. Relationships are difficult and out of our understanding at the minute. Dating apps have drained romance out of everyday dating. We crave those kind of love stories, these epic love stories. The situationships with like your co-worker or your neighbour Brad next door, it's not cutting it for people, and I completely understand that. When I was doing my research for this episode, I noticed one thing popping up a lot, which is a theory in pop culture that when vampires are back in fashion, it generally is a recession indicator. And I was like, oh, great. What other kind of disaster indicators are here with us in the room right now? Ugh. Twilight did have its own revival recently. I don't know if you guys remember how there was a sudden interest online in re-examining and entering that world again. Outside of people's craving for these bigger love stories, explorations and expressions of grief, with the Gothic genre there also comes horror, the fear of the unknown, the uncontrollable. I'm also very sure that our clash with billionaires and the increasing wealth gap between the rich and the poor makes us turn towards the Victorian period even more in our fiction, because that was a huge time for wealth inequality within the masses. Also, during my research, a couple of news outlets speculated that the pandemic is another reason why we're seeing a Gothic revival, both as a method of escapism and also a way of coping and coming to terms with all the death that we witnessed, all the death that is surrounding us. Another theory is that the Gothic helps us express our need for authenticity. As I mentioned, real, dark, complex, difficult emotions, dealing with the taboo. And once again, with all the AI slop being everywhere and not being sure what's real, what's fake, that would make complete sense. In the world of fake news and fascism, intellectualism is back, and people want to study and analyse and enrich their minds again, just like the Victorians did. And when I analysed all the new Phantom of the Opera adaptations that are coming out during last episode, I was very surprised by all the sudden content out of nowhere. But I guess this shows that if we are going to have a Phantom of the Opera renaissance, now is the time to do it. It is very on trend right now. I'm also briefly going to touch on Wuthering Heights as well, as much as some of you might dislike that. It was extremely controversial when it came out. I went up to the Bronte parsonage earlier in the year. If you guys are interested in my vlog of that, click here. It kind of raised a lot of rage in people because it was a very, very sexual adaptation, and there was a lot of stuff that felt like it was there for shock value. I don't really have too much of an issue with adaptations making the classics sexy. I think if you look within classic books, you will find a lot of erotic stuff. It's not going to be like AO3. It might not be what you recognise, but it is there. A lot of what made Wuthering Heights the book when it first came out, and Jane Eyre and many of the other books being written in the Gothic genre at the time, were because the Victorians were so shocked by how sexy they were, by the violence. And it is kind of strange to think about how that was criticised so heavily, and Wuthering Heights is getting criticised so heavily, and people are like, oh, Emily Bronte would be turning in her grave if she saw what this movie had become. I'm not going to say that everything in this new adaptation of Wuthering Heights was good or perfect or whatever. I'm just saying that you kind of have to be a bit blind to think that these Gothic classics were that rigid. They were shocking for their time. And if anything, the 2026 adaptation is still a bit diluted from the source material. Like, Heathcliff digs up Kathy's grave in the book. That's really shocking, dark stuff, and it wasn't put in the movie. There's a lot of really outrageous stuff that Heathcliff does. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It looks like we're going to have a lot more Gothic film and TV content to look forward to in the near future. Let me know if there's a Gothic movie or TV show that you're excited about. I love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Thank you for watching this episode of Regal's Radio Hour. If you like my voice, please subscribe and like the video. It helps other people find my channel. Also, a special shout out to the last people that commented. Vintage Bohemian 21, Through the Looking Glass 5973, DJ the Black Ribboned, and Ava Chandler 2011. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.